Right, go.
Welcome to the Imhotep podcast. This is a podcast that will discuss different things from, the metal world and rock world. And our first topic is actually Manowar. I have to let my pleasure slave introduce the topic in more words, yes?
Okay, so it's just regarding the new Manowar album. And there's a news item posted on Blabbermouth, and it says, "What is the status on the album?" Joey DeMaio replies, "We are extremely critical of the songs in every step. I have said before that most of the stuff we reject, other bands would consider finished. Finally, now we are recording, and then the album goes into mixing and mastering." Okay, first point that I would like to make, boss. He says here, we reject... Okay, most of the stuff we reject, other bands would consider finished. Now, does he mean finished as in completed, or finished as in... You're fucking finished, as in you're out of here?
I doubt that he said something about the Finnish people. So, no offense to you up north. You're a good crowd up there in Finland. I think he talks more about...
Completed?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
But you never know with Manowar.
No, so what he's saying here is that they're very critical, and they, artistically speaking, they put their songs under such a critical microscope that stuff that most bands would love to have on their albums, Manowar say, it just ain't good enough.
How does that correspond with the last album, which got a lot of criticism, negative criticism?
I think it's... not that I would ever dream of being one to consider Joey DeMaio to be, kind of full of shit, but I think, okay, he's full of shit. But it's just the Manowar thing, because the point is that I think Manowar, I thought that the last album had gone to the point where even the hardest of hardcore Manowar fans who do everything in their power to try and like what Manowar do, had to kind of, hold their hands and say, the album sucks. Whereas you, who are not the hardest of hardcore Manowar fans, you say you like the last album.
I really liked the last album. I liked this big concepts album about this and that. And I think the way that the songs, which I think were good, like the title song is really good.
But hold on a second. The songs, which accounted for about 25% of the album. All right, sorry, yeah, continue.
Maybe I think it's like 60% or something. They were really good. While the talking, the effects, the introductions, the outroductions, whatever. I like the idea that they did something that were not expected from a band such as Manowar. I mean, you were probably expecting, or the fans were probably expecting, like
good songs,
10 regular Manowar songs about this, that, Pleasure Slaves, about Kings, about metal, about how we are the best band in the world and we are going to take over the world and we're probably going to take over the universe and we're probably going to take over heaven and hell and everything. So, but then you got something really different, and I think I respect that. Don't like it? Well, it's your opinion.
Okay,
but I do respect that.
Okay, I think the point here to concentrate on is not respecting the fact that it's the album this way or that way. I would say personally, it's more along the lines that I just don't think that Manowar have any kind of creative fire left, and I think they're just it just shows I don't know that the whole chronology of Manowar. They released albums kind of regularly up until was it Triumph of Steel in '92?
Yeah.
Okay, and then they had was it Louder Than Hell in '96?
Yes.
Okay, and Louder Than Hell was
yeah.
I think that's the one that speaking for my point of view from friends of mine who have been long-term Manowar fans, they consider Triumph of Steel to be the last kind of great Manowar album, and after that they kind of started treading water. Then the whole thing after that where they released 8 gazillion DVDs instead of albums, and then when they finally do release an album, it's considered to be subpar. So I just think personally, it's just my opinion that their creative spark is gone.
I didn't get the impression that the album was subpar. I mean, Warriors of the World United, it's got a lot of good critics in as far as I've been reading, and I think it got 6 out of 6 in the biggest Norwegian magazine at the time. So not that is a measure, but still,
I don't think that's a measure at all.
But still, I I think the album had a lot of good songs. Of course, they did this. I think it was this Elvis song. No, not Elvis.
Was this the American Trilogy or
yeah,
something?
American Trilogy. Yeah, Elvis did it as well. Of course, it's what is it? But hey, they are always hailing their heritage. They are going on and on about their kings and they need a lot of pleasure slaves. They want to rule the universe and they are bigger, better, and everything. So in that sense, the good thing about Manowar and especially Joe, he's consistent and he is consequent in the sense that he repeats himself all the time. And I'd also say that the music is repetitive in the sense that you know it's Manowar from the first tune.
Yeah, but hold on. That's not the point. It doesn't matter if it's repetitive and you know it's Manowar, you know. The point is, it can be repetitive or not, but it has to be good.
Yeah, but it is good because it's basically the same that as it did back in the 80s. Aside from that, the sound is a bit improved. The songs remain much the same, except for the effects and the interludes, and as I spoke about earlier on the last album, the Gods of War album. But aside from that, I mean, it's Manowar all the time, and I find it's stupid that people look down on Manowar for trying something new, because it's still Manowar. And the thing is, if you really want to, you could just delete those songs from your MP3 fucking player and listen to only the metal songs, and you will still have a good album for like 45 minutes.
That's not the point, I don't think, because, you know, it's, if you take, like, let's say an older day classic, let's say Hail and Kill, versus a new day classic, let's say you know, Warriors. You know, I mean, Warriors is a good song and everything, and you know, it's a good simple sing along song, but you know, it's I just think it doesn't hold a candle to something like Hail and Kill, which is a classic song. You know, I just think it's not there. You know.
Yeah, but it's classic because it was written back in 1988.
No, okay.
Had it been Upside Down or had Warriors of the World United been written in 1988 and Hail and Kill in not 1988 but in 1984 or whatever it was released. Yeah. It would have been opposite, and you would say exactly the same, just with the opposite names.
I don't think so. I think if we went 500 years forward in time and people were discussing this band from the past called Manowar, and you know, somebody who was like, you know, 20 years old then, and they were a Manowar fan, but Manowar had ceased to exist like 500 years ago, if they went back and listened to Hail and Kill and then listened to Warriors, then I think they would go, you know, oh, you know, this band, I mean, that was a good song, but it wasn't as good as... I truly believe that. Honestly.
Yeah, but if you take Slayer, everybody is hailing Rain and Blood as the best thrash albums and everything, but it's mostly people who are a little bit older than 15 or 20. It's people who were there at the time, or the few years after 1986. While people who were born in 1990, they could actually like a Slayer, but they would more go into like maybe not God's Hates Us All, but you know, World Painted Blood. So I think a lot of this has to do with the time aspect. And I think Manowar is one of those bands that stick to their guns, as I said before, and that do their own things and should have respect for that.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. My point is, I just think that the creative spark is gone. And Slayer, you know, if you look back at Divine Intervention, that album is almost 20 years old. I mean, that's more than enough time to, you know, qualify for the whole classic thing, okay? I mean, I'm not a particularly big fan of Slayer. I think they're overrated. I mean, I can see why they're held in such high regard, because, you know, they really did kind of break down, you know, barriers, and, you know, they tried something that was kind of, you know, unheard of at the time, at least as far as to a wider audience. But, you know, Divine Intervention is 20 years ago now, almost, right? And, you know, I think it's a piece of shit. And, you know, if Divine Intervention was released in 1986 and Rain and Blood was released in 1994, you know, I would still feel the same. You know, I mean, I think as it is, Rain and Blood is overrated as an album. It's a very good album, but I don't think it's, you know, this. I think, for example, the fucking Master album, which should have been released then, is better. But the point is, I don't necessarily think it's because one was released X amount of years before the other, because I think enough time has passed in order to to view them in the wider scale. So I think personally it's that speaking as like somebody who's not particularly like a Manowar fan. I mean, I can appreciate some Manowar. I think '96 when Louder Than Hell was released, I just think that album was noticeably less kind of inspired, as in the people making the album were less driven, had less passion, had less less of the fire inside them for making music than they did before that. That's what I believe.
So you would say disagree with Joey when he says that they write songs, or
they reject songs that other bands would consider finished.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but then again, I mean, Joey DeMaio is like, he is like the picture of the American capitalist, because like, Americans, okay, I see it like this: American musicians generally, for them, success is, let's take in the music world, which is, it's an art form, music, or it should be. I think Americans, first of all, have a big problem being able to differentiate between art and entertainment, So I think art is something from the soul. I think entertainment is something, from the head. It's something that's designed to, it's to provoke a certain kind of reaction, whether positive or negative, from people. Whereas art isn't. I think with art, it's filters don't really come into it. It's like it should be kind of like unfiltered. Just something that's burning inside you, like, which is great music. I think entertainment is it's very purposeful. You want to make this kind of song to get this kind of reaction. So I think Dennis Leary releasing a single called Asshole. I think that's on an artistic level, it's kind of equal with something like Manowar.
But are you really serious? Do you really think that Manowar release or make music and put their lives and effort into this just to entertain you? You don't think that they have any real artistic view behind this?
I think they did.
You don't think they do anymore?
No, not at all.
I mean, because now they have the ability to actually make their views come forth in the sense that they make these big, as you mentioned earlier, DVDs, a few of them, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and between every album. But those DVDs are high quality work. It's not shit. And I think they have a vision of making things as good as possible of what they are capable of doing. And I think that they do everything very good, because what you get, you can't say that, of course you can say that, I don't like this band, and I think their songs are boring, blah, blah, blah. But you can't say that it's bad products. And I don't think that they make this just to entertain. I think they make it because they believe in it.
Okay. So what you said there, one word you used, you said you don't think it's bad product. And I would most certainly not disagree. I agree, it's not bad product, but it is product. And it's like with these DVDs, I mean, DVDs generally, like from bands, at least the way formats are now, DVDs aren't really any kind of like artistic kind of offering. DVDs are taking music which is already recorded and made and kind of presenting it like in the live sense or whatever. So I mean, for example, if you bought a mobile phone 10 years ago and you wanted to take a picture, you had to have a camera separately. Okay, now your mobile phone can take your pictures for you, which means it's a product which is it does more now, and it's better value for the people buying it, blah blah blah. So I think Manowar putting out these DVDs and having like metal case covers and like having this behind the scenes footage and blah blah blah, it's very good, but it's just a nice way of packaging a product. It's not an artistic expression at all,
I disagree with you there, simply because if you take a band like let's say a band that we like, both of us, Monarch.
Yeah.
When they go on stage, they just deliver the same thing, the same songs as they do in the studio.
Yeah.
There is no arty-farty, there is no screens, there are no kind of acting, it's just black metal.
Yeah.
It's my second favorite live band.
After
Bataille.
Okay.
I really like Monarch, but at the same time, I could just stand there and watch a movie without any voices, without any sound, and just hear the band playing live in the background.
Yeah.
Because to see them doing their stuff, I mean, it's just four guys doing the songs as they do in studio. But when it comes to Manowar, they have a view of the music. They have a view of how to make things. I mean, they think that the music is big, and it is big. It's big, better and better and better. And they add a lot of stuff to this. They invite the musicians to the stage. Yeah. They have choirs. They have orchestras from time to time. They always get one or two women, or maybe a kind of coincidental guy who knows to play the songs up on stage. Yeah. But they also have screens. They also have they add something extra to the songs compared to how to the studio albums. Yeah. While most bands can't do that, and that's why I think that their the view, they have a view, and I think this genuine, and I think that they put everything, their heart and soul into that view. And even though, yes, it's a product, the DVD is a product, it's a physical item, but I think that what they are really trying to express is their views on Manowar outside the studio as well, like making it bigger and better, and you get an even better, more feeling. It's like reading a book, and then you go to the cinema and watch it, and you get a different view of the same thing. I think that's brilliant. While if you go to, let's say, listen to Marduk, you just get the energy that you get from the album, in my opinion. And I, of course, love it. But still, I think Manowar, you can't argue against Manowar and saying that they are just entertainers. Of course, it is entertaining, by all means.
Yeah.
But they have the means, and they actually have the money to make things a bit different than just replicating the albums.
Yeah, I agree with that. But everything, the way you've described this whole thing, your whole point there, I think one word can sum it all up. It's cosmetic. It's cosmetic. It's just like, it's like taking if I was a woman, I would be kind of as I am with a man, very average, maybe not even average. You put some makeup on me, and then for some people it's like, oh, looks better. It's still the same. It's just you kind of like you polish it up a bit more. So I think all of this stuff, like Manowar, taking their vision and doing it like with guests and choirs and this and that and blah blah blah. It's all cosmetic. The thing is that the whole thing which they're then polishing up to like look better for presentation for the public. The most important point is that those songs themselves, their genesis and them coming about, for me it's all kind of worthless or pointless if those songs are not driven by a true creative urge or spark, and I don't believe they are. Seeing Marduk live on stage when it's just the four guys in some little pub playing those songs, I think Marduk, especially since Mortus joined the band, it's like he added like this soul, into the band, where it just like it became kind of more what a band should be about, whereas previously they'd kind of become a bit kind of like a parody act of themselves. So when you see like Marduk and when they played at Club Maiden, like a 300 capacity venue with a little shitty place, and of course there was no choirs, there was no big screens, there was no dancing monkeys or whatever. But when they played something like Imago Mortis up there, I mean, that song was made, with the, as far as I'm concerned, the truest and the purest of artistic intent. And I mean, they didn't make that song in order to, make it like, something that 100,000 people go, fuck, could I have that? For me, there was no intent commercially, or no intent as far as, making this kind of like easy to swallow for people so they could sell more. For me, that song was just something that it was a creative, creative expression, and that's what music is about, I think.
Yeah, but if you go back to Manowar, that's the thing. They did something on the last album, Ghosts of War, that nobody ever thought would happen. They made something completely different. Of course, the songs are basically just the same as they have always done. And I mean, Manowar can't do anything else. They can't start to play thrash or to play, black metal. Manowar has to play Manowar music, but still they did something completely different. And of course they got a lot of shit for that. Every band who does a lot of things. And I think that their songs are good. I think the Gods of War song is one of the best songs they've ever done. Because they did something, they kept the Manowar thing, and they still added it because they can.
Okay.
And I don't think they did it because of, we need to do this because this will sell more. I think they did it because they had this vision and they had the means to do it.
I don't. I think that they basically, it's obviously, there was a lot of thought and a lot of preparation put into this, and that's great. But I think it's just a lot of thought and preparation put into something that is just based around the music and the core of it all. Like the songs, I just think they're not inspirational, as in not to inspire people to listen.
But you never liked Manowar.
I do.
Yeah, but what songs do you like, except for Hail and Kill or whatever?
How dare you say that, boss? No, I think that whole album, the Hail and Kill, what's the album called? Kings of Metal?
Kings of Metal, yeah.
Okay. I think Manowar have some absolutely undeniable classics. I've never been a big fan, but I mean, it's not like I would, just criticize Manowar for the sake of it. And in fact, in many ways, I think Manowar epitomise, so many of the important aspects of, the heavy metal genre and everything. And it was also tongue in cheek, and I mean, even all this bullshit, doing gigs and like dragging chicks up on stage to show their tits and guys up on stage to, play some guitar and so on and so forth. I mean, all of that is like, it's all fine, but I think it's all fine if, it's almost pointless, I think, if the songs are not written from the heart.
But how the fuck do you know that they are not written from the heart?
That's my opinion.
It's your opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion is that you suck.
Well,
and I want you to be my bonus track from that album.
Is that a bonus track, Pleasure Slave?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I do suck, and not always for free, but I mean, that's irrelevant because as living, breathing human beings who have, accelerated above and beyond the most basic, members of the animal kingdom, we're allowed to have opinions. And I truly, honestly believe that. I mean, I fail to see almost how it is possible to deny that Manowar, I mean, since like they started out these fucking Hell on Earth DVDs, I mean, it's always like just fucking like anything but music almost, It's like they generate everything around except music, And I just think that they're like the living, breathing American dream, It's like sell everything but what the music, or sell everything except what should be sold, and that is songs which are, come from the right place. I don't believe they do.